Hello, awards watchers. The Golden Globe nominations were just announced, and Netflix led the film nominations, but not necessarily for the film you might have thought. Marriage Story is actually the film in the lead with 6, followed by Irishman, which we thought might be the top nominee, with 5. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood also has 5 nominations. I'm Daniel Montgomery, here with Tom O'Neill, Susan Wloszczyna, Joyce Eng, and Marcus James Dixon. So I'll start with you, Joyce. What did you think of Marriage Story doing so well and Irishman doing a little less well?
Not really that surprised. Honestly, I debated taking out Robert De Niro last night, and I didn't. Because I feel like he and the HFT have had some testy relationships over the years, but I kept him in there. Marriage Story, it's the nomination leader, but it missed director, which is a pretty major snub, and it's the first film in 11 years since Doubt to be the Globe nomination leader without a directing nomination. So it's a good news, bad news for it in a way. But I don't think anyone was surprised that it got those 3 nominations for Adam and ScarJo and Laura Dern, and Randy Newman making in score. Irishman missed De Niro, and I think the low-key winner in all of this is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it hit everything it needed to hit. It didn't get Margot in, but we all knew, or we probably all figured she had better odds for Bombshell. She got in for Bombshell, and she seems to be campaigning more for that anyway. And it's not the nomination leader, so it's not positioned as the favorite or the leader right now. That all the headlines right now, it's Marriage Story leads with 6 nominations. They got 5, so I think it's the big winner in all of this.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, with those 5 nominations, the fact that it's not the top nominee overall, but it's so far and away the top nominee for best film, comedy or musical, and it's nominated for writing and directing. The only other 2 films that are nominated in both writing and directing are Irishman and Parasite, which is up for foreign film. So I feel like Once Upon a Time is going to have a really good Globes night in terms of walking away probably with Best Picture, where it is up against, I should say, Dolomite Is My Name, Jojo Rabbit, Knives Out and Rocketman, and Irishman and Marriage Story are up against Joker, 1917, and The Two Popes, which actually 3 out of the 5 nominees are from Netflix, which I'm just noticing. Netflix dominated both film and television at the Golden Globes. I think 34 total nominations between film and TV. Marcus, what do you think is winning Best Film Drama, and do you think Irishman is in trouble at all? And then everyone feel free to jump in.
Well, I mean, the big story this year for me is, if your movie is about one man or a pair of men or a group of men, you probably had a good year at the Golden Globes. I mean, look at all the movies about women that were completely snubbed or snubbed in the picture races. In terms of what will win Best Drama Film, my hope diction is 1917 or Joker. Those are 2 of my favorite movies of the whole year. But I really think it's probably going to be The Irishman. It just has the cachet. It has the cool factor. It's the talk of the town right now because it's streaming on Netflix. It's very, very accessible to everyone at home and the voters, the Golden Globe voters. So my pick is The Irishman, but I'm kind of hoping for 1917 or Joker.
And what do you think about best comedy musical picture? Is that just Once Upon a Time, or can Jojo Rabbit still pull it out?
Jojo Rabbit could do it. Dolomite could do it. But I really think Joyce made the case, a couple of minutes ago when she said Once Upon a Time hit everything it needed to. It and The Irishman are the only movies in direction and screenplay. So Once Upon a Time is probably going to win here. But if Dolomite wins, that would just be so huge. It's just such a good movie. It's such an underdog story that you want to root for. But Once Upon a Time has the Tarantino factor, and
I think Dolomite will get the win for Eddie. I think. Yeah. So that'll be its big win, I think. But yeah, I think I could totally see Joker winning drama film, but I also think right now it's probably The Irishman, just based on what it hit, even though it missed actor. But we've had, like, you know, big Oscar players miss that category before. Like Jeremy Renner didn't get in for The Hurt Locker, you know, and it went on to win Best Picture at the Oscars. But yeah, I think Once will win for musical or comedy.
What about Martin Scorsese? Is he alive for director?
I think he's probably out front. It's, you know, he I don't think will be hurt by, you know, Robert De Niro's shortfall. I think that might be a place they go to for him. Although I do think I could see them pulling a Roma and giving Best Director and Best Foreign Language Film to Parasite. You know, they did clearly like that movie. It's up for writing and directing, along with Once Upon a Time and The Irishman. So we know that the voters like it about as much, or almost as much. It didn't get any actors in, but we weren't really expecting it to, although, you know, it couldn't have hurt it to have gotten any actors in. But neither did Roma, and Roma got 2 acting nominations at the Oscars eventually, so that might not be
Another thing about De Niro is, you know, he's a producer on The Irishman, so if it wins Best Film Drama, he will go up on stage and accept a trophy. So, you know, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that he got snubbed. Who do you think will win actor? I think it's between Adam Driver or Joaquin Phoenix, personally.
Yes.
But Antonio Banderas is really coming on strong.
Yeah, Antonio has, I think he could just be like the critical favorite who finally gets his first Oscar nomination. But I would love it if he won. But I think it was always between like Adam and Joaquin is definitely helped by the fact that Todd Phillips got into director and Noah Baumbach didn't, even though, you know, Marriage Story obviously leads the nominations. So yeah, I think it's between the two of them, and Joaquin is also the showier performance, which, you know, people love to eat up, but he's also not much of a campaigner. So I don't know how much he'll try to win over the HFPA members.
I just gotta say, poor Adam Driver being like, he literally like screams and cries and throws himself on the floor, and yet he's still not the showiest performance in this category because of what the stuff that Joaquin Phoenix is doing in that film. I do think I think Joaquin is probably, I think that director nomination for Phillips is a statement that Phoenix is, I don't think Phillips is going to win director. And I don't think the film is likely to win Best Picture, but I do think those were signs of support that might indicate that Joaquin is their guy more than Adam Driver, at least at these awards. So I think that's going to be Joaquin's. Although I do wonder, given how well Marriage Story did relative to Judy, although we weren't really expecting Judy to get anything but actress, you know, but the fact that Marriage Story got 6 nominations, hit everywhere except for director, is maybe Scarlett their favorite for Best Actress, because she does have an IOU. Like she's got like 5 nominations at the Globes now, and she's never been up at the Oscars, but the Globes have loved her. But she hasn't won at the Globes yet, so it feels like this might be an opportunity to go with her, and also give like Marriage Story a top prize. If, you know, I think it's going to get screenplay, but they might want to give it something bigger too. Again, I know most people are probably on the Zellweger bandwagon. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
But I think Scarlett can win too, just like what you said. This is her 5th nomination. The Globes were the first major body to they gave her 2 nominations 16 years ago, and she lost one of them to Charlize for Monster. So I can definitely see if they are going to go Joaquin and maybe like J-Lo in supporting over Laura, like she could be the acting representative. And Renee has a ton of Globes, so she doesn't like need another one. But it's also the type of performance that they would also go for. But, you know, again, last year we all thought they would go for Lady Gaga in another like musical drama, and they gave it to Glenn Close.
And they think backwards too, though. Like if they think that Renee's going to win the Oscar, they don't want to look foolish and not give her the Globe. So I think that could help her win here. But yeah, if Scarlett wins, big story. And imagine the stories that are going to be written in the next month about how she's so overdue, and that will possibly influence them. What about supporting actor and actress? Brad Pitt, maybe?
Maybe?
Yeah.
I think sure.
I think that's like, and I could see them giving it to J-Lo, because she's J-Lo, but if Laura wins the Oscar, like it's the total career Oscar for her. So it's like, I kind of thought she would be like the industry, like televised sweeper, kind of like how like Allison Janney was, like who wasn't like a critical favorite, but she's won some critics awards too. So she might just like take everything or most of everything.
Yeah, I think Jennifer Lopez. I'm predicting her to win at the moment. I might switch because Laura Dern really is coming on strong, and that's another place. Like if they want to give Marriage Story a big acting award, that's a place to go. If they, Renee Zellweger the award for Judy. It does give me concern that J-Lo is the only nomination for Hustlers because it was up in Yeah, because it was up in the comedy musical categories. It could have and maybe should have for her sake gotten in picture and or Constance Wu for best comedy musical actress, but it didn't get any of those. So there's not that much support for the film, but I do think that's the kind of Golden Globes moment that they might really like.
Remember the Grammy dress, right? She could take that out again. And the ratings would just flare up. So I
think Constance is maybe still in timeout from her little Twitter rampage from last year when she went off on her show being renewed. So maybe that's why she didn't get in, but I really think this is J-Lo's year. I mean, she just hosted SNL and she wore that dress, Susan, on SNL.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Good for her. It's like Tiffany Haddish, but different, right? The dress. But no, I think one of the joys of that movie is just watching her do something for once that is worthwhile again after so many years of doing not so hot movies. And
yeah, everyone like seems to have forgotten that she was an actor before she became a pop star. Like she worked with like Soderbergh, like Oliver Stone. She's a previous Globe nominee for Selena, so she's had credentials, and everyone just kind of poo-poos her because she's made rom-coms over the years. And The Wedding Planner is one of my favorite films, so no one can ever diss The Wedding Planner.
But J-Lo got in for the indie spirits, and she's been actually popping up here and there on the award circuit elsewhere. Yes, she seems like the ultimate Globes-friendly star, being a superstar, all that kind of thing. But on the other hand, she has been justifying her candidacy elsewhere too. So I think she's going to win here, and I think this is going to set up a real interesting dynamic for the Oscars. That is, does she have the snob to win the Oscar? And just when we think, Sly Stallone can't lose the Oscar, his last Rocky movie, but on the other hand, he lost for among the reasons we believe that the role just didn't have the pretensions that they wanted. Let me double back for a couple of seconds here because I missed the earlier discussion with you guys here. One of the biggest surprises to me on the film side, on the Best Picture side, was the fact that Popes got in over Ford versus Ferrari and over Little Women, and the fact that Jojo Rabbit underperformed on the comedy musical side. I'm going to switch to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for Best Comedy Musical Picture there. It's interesting to see how these nominations now affect our predictions. But the lack of support in screenplay for JoJo and director, etc., I'm going to give up on that now and concede the love elsewhere. But the one thing I'm not going to concede is this Marriage Story thing. I do not believe the Laura Dern predictions, the Oscars or the Globes here. I think it's just this little bubble that we live in, and we've talked ourselves into this. and she's the overwhelming favorite until she's not, and I just don't buy it for a minute.
Yeah, I've been skeptical about Laura Dern, not necessarily as like that she can't win, but that she's such an overwhelming front runner to win. It's, the character, like the role she plays in Marriage Story, she plays Scarlett Johansson's divorce lawyer. It's not a role that has a really strong dramatic arc of its own. Like, she doesn't have her own character arc. It's really, she's there to advocate for Scarlett Johansson's character, and it is a showy role. Like, it is reminiscent of like if her Renata Klein character for Big Little Lies were a divorce lawyer, she would be this character. But I don't know if that helps or hurts her, the fact that it feels like we've seen a variation of this performance from Laura Dern.
I've always said that if any other actress were playing that role, Nora, in the movie, they would not even be in the discussion for an Oscar win, like let alone, like a nominee. Like, she's good in it, and she gets this like nice little like 1 minute long speech at the end when she talks about the double standards of like men and women as mothers and fathers. But yeah, like you said, like there's no real dimension to the role, like as it's written, because obviously the story is about Charlie and Nicole. But I feel like even with like Alan Alla's lawyer, like he's like the nice lawyer for Adam Driver. Like, I felt like there was more depth to him in his like far shorter screen time. Even it was probably just like a minute or two, like less than Laura's, like than in how like Laura's character was written and also portrayed. I don't know, like, yeah, it's like sort of like a beta Renata, even though like it's just.
Well, Joyce, who do you have for SAG winning supporting actress? Because right now you've got you're with me with J-Lo for the Globe.
Yeah, I have J-Lo. I mean, J-Lo is like my Hope Diction, because I just want to advocate for her getting in like all these places. Right. But yeah, like I could also see her being like you said, like a Sylvester Stallone, like, who was also the sole nominee for Creed 4 years ago, and he won the Globe, but he wasn't nominated at SAG. So J-Lo needs to get in at SAG on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I can see. Yeah, I could see Hustlers being this kind of stealth contender in other places. I could see it's this small movie that made a bunch of money, over $100 million at the domestic box office alone. So it's a big hit. So I think it could get into the Producers Guild Awards, because they love sort of little movies that did good. So I think it could get in there, which could pave the way for a potential outside shot at a Best Picture nomination. I think it has an outside shot at a SAG nomination for its ensemble cast, and we've seen little movies that could get in there, like Hustle and Flow and Captain Fantastic. So I think Hustlers has an outside shot at that. I think it has an outside shot at a screenplay nomination at the Oscars. So I do think Jennifer Lopez is out front to win at the Golden Globes, and I think at the moment she's out front to win at the Oscars, but I think she will need a little bit of support. That movie needs to show up more often, and J-Lo is showing up everywhere, which is good for her. Like, when I saw her at the Gotham Awards, I'm like, okay, she wants this and she's working it. So more power to her, because I'd be really excited for her to get that nomination, which I think she probably should have already had for Selena or Out of Sight at this point. So fingers crossed for her there. And as Marcus alluded to earlier, interestingly, Hustlers is not nominated for Best Film, Comedy, or Musical. And basically, if you were a film about women, you weren't nominated for Best Picture. Generally speaking, Greta Gerwig should have adapted Little Men instead, probably. She might have gotten a Best Picture nomination that way. 2 out of the 10 nominees for Best Picture, drama or musical or comedy, only 2 of those have a female co-lead, and that's A Knives Out with Ana de Armas and Marriage Story with Scarlett Johansson. All of the films have a male lead. All of the nominees for directing are male. So no Greta, no Lorene Scafaria, no Marielle Heller, no Lulu Wang. Only a female writer is nominated, and that's the co-writer of Parasite. So it's a little disheartening that so many strong potential contenders that were by and about women. Also Bombshell, which was written and directed by men but centered on women, also kind of underperformed. What do you think about that, Mark?
It's so different on the TV side. That's what's so striking about this. Like, we have Fleabag, we have Mrs. Maisel, we have Big Little Lies, The Crown, Killing Eve, The Morning Show, and then you rattle off the shows that are, female, or the films that are female centric, and like you said, there's zero that are just about a woman in the lead role from the women's perspective. It's just very, very interesting, and I don't know if it's because of the lack of these types of movies or not, but I mean, there certainly are a lot of great movies this year that could have been nominated and they chose not to.
Yeah, I think what makes it even more discerning is like there were a lot of films like made by female directors this year that could have gotten in. I think, most people like thought it would be Greta getting into director, especially because the Globes also like to do IOUs every now and then, and she didn't get in for Lady Bird. And we all remember what Natalie Portman did at the ceremony that year. So I thought they would make it up to her this year with that. And, Little Women is great, but it just got in for Saoirse. So I don't I'm not surprised, but it's still sad that there's only been 5 female directors nominated at the Globes, not unlike the Oscars. So it's like Marcus said, there's so many more female-led stories on TV, but I think that's just reflective of how much more content there is on TV, and a lot more storytellers are going to TV. And it's just, I don't know, because sometimes you feel like they feel shamed into doing something. So I don't know if they're more defiant about this than anything else, or maybe they just genuinely love these dude-led movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think they I don't ascribe any usual I don't think Golden Globe voters look at their ballots and look at Bombshell. It's this is a movie about women. No, it's I don't think that actually works. But it does these things do tend to shape up that way, and we do see that happen at the Oscars sometimes too. I remember the year of Wild, which I thought was basically 127 hours, but with women, and I think actually a better movie than 127 Hours was, and that underperformed throughout the award season. Movies like Jackie underperform. So we do see these female-driven movies just kind of get softer support for whatever reason, while a lot of male-driven movies do tend to rise to the top, like Joker did better than we thought, The Two Popes did better than we thought. You could probably count the female characters in both of those films on one hand. Obviously you're not going to have that many women in a movie about the papacy, but it does seem striking that generally it does seem like movies about men just seem to be considered differently than movies about women by and large, or at least that's the result ends up being when you see the list of nominees sometimes. But we do have Frozen 2, and we do have.
And they added more men in it. More men scenes. So you tell me.
That's how they got in. They did more into the story. And we do have 2 nominees for Best Foreign Language Film, I should say, that are both written and directed by women, and from a female point of view, the story, which is The Farewell and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So all is not lost at the Golden Globes for female filmmakers, although it is still kind of a shortfall. Well, we are going to be talking about these races all month into the beginning of January until January 5th, when the Golden Globes winners are announced on NBC. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and thank all of my colleagues for joining me in this slugfest. There will be more as the season progresses, and fingers crossed for all, getting our predictions right for the winners. You can make your own predictions at goldderby.com for film and TV. We have also recorded a TV slugfest to discuss those nominees, so you can watch that as well. So until next time, we will see you later.